Hello there, this is Lawrence Explains Online Academic Tuition. So in this video, I'm just going to go through a few quick tips to assist you with the English Literature GCSE exam. I will just get straight into it here with these kind of last minute tips. So number one, and I would think this is fairly basic, is just make sure you are armed with at least 6 quotations from each text. So 6 quotations from each text. And I would say that's a minimum. You might want to go as far as 8 or 9. You should select these quotations yourself. If you're going for higher marks, you want to be selecting quotations that are interesting, that are multi-purpose, and that you want at least 2 or 3 in there that you have personally selected because you're quite interested in them. You don't want to just recycle, what everyone else is saying. Because if you're going for these very high marks, the 8s and 9s particularly, you want to be saying something that is a little bit more interesting, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more original. I would encourage you to go beyond the revision guide when you're looking for your quotations. So I'll put this here, and playing up here. So yeah, go beyond the revision guide, because everyone has these guides and they are good as far as they go. But if you want to score a strong mark, you want to do a little bit more. So that would be the first thing there. And that applies obviously to all of the texts that you're studying. Secondly, for those people, again, this is really aimed at the higher candidates. For those people who are going for top marks, you want to try to incorporate some critical dialogue. So I would learn a couple of quotations from critics, academics, scholars who've commented on these texts, because that's really something that's characteristic of a higher candidate, someone who's getting an 8 or 9. As an examiner, you're reading through that going, okay, wow, this student has got an interesting angle, they know the text well, and they're even aware of some of the academic dialogue that's going on around the text. So in the case of Shakespeare, for example, there's literally centuries of dialogue and interpretation that has gone on around the texts themselves. And so if you're able to incorporate 1 or 2 ideas and comment on them, that shows a really good level of engagement for a GCSE level student. Those would be 2 really important tips. So learn your 6 to 9 quotes, be well armed with your quotes, go beyond the revision guide, and then also try to incorporate some critical dialogue into your responses as well. And the last thing I'm going to say on this, again, this is something that is really characteristic of higher level answers. So this video is really a little bit more for higher level candidates who are going for the very top marks. You want to incorporate some understanding, demonstrate an understanding of artistic and historical context, maybe even biographical context as well. So, for example, on your poetry collection, you're probably going to want to familiarize yourself with things like, who were the Romantic poets. There's a couple of poets in there who are from the Romantic era. There are other historical factors that link to some of those poems. And equally in the texts as well, you want to have a little bit of background knowledge of the historical context and the artistic context of the writers. That's really going to assist you in creating a very grounded response. So something like an inspector calls, for example, you simply cannot understand that text without its historical context. Otherwise, it's not particularly even interesting to write about at times, because detached from the kind of historical backdrop, it's really important to incorporate that historical backdrop. Obviously, there is a huge amount of dramatic input as well in the play, but the historical backdrop is really important. And you have the same with other texts, Lord of the Flies, Macbeth, etc. There's a lot of artistic and historical context that you want to incorporate. And just incorporating 1 or 2 lines here and there, that's really all you need to do to show how that links to our interpretation of the plays or the books. All you need is just, as I said, 1 or 2 lines here and there that show you've got an awareness of that artistic and historical context. So there's just 3 tips there on how to prepare last minute for the English literature exam. So I hope that's food for thought, and best of luck for the upcoming exams.